Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Kristin Parker, founder and CEO of Axxelus. We're going to be learning about her business, her journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that she's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Kristin. So great to meet you.
Thank you, Kay. I really appreciate being invited.
Yes, I'm so excited to dive into learning about your business. And before we do that, I would love to share with the audience a bit about you. So take me back as far as you'd like. Share a bit about yourself and how you started business.
Okay, well, this is not a traditional story, not a traditional journey. So, again, I have founded a contract sales organization for the pharmaceutical industry. And now we'll go back to the beginning. I started out as a first grade school teacher. So that's quite a,
That's
there's
a
the
job.
end. That's where we are 18 years into business. And then when you go back right after graduating from college in 95, taught first grade, ended up being a pharmaceutical sales rep, and then started a business just myself. It was meant to be a temporary means of supporting myself and my kids. And one thing led to another, and we didn't start out as what we are. We have evolved over time. And I could never have predicted that this is where we would be. But I'm very grateful for this journey.
Wow. Well, I'm excited to dive in deeper on that because it sounds really cool. So tell me about where did the business start and then kind of what's the business now?
Sure. So the business started in 2008. If you recall, that is when we had the first uh, wave of everybody going through hard times, losing jobs, which meant insurance plans were no longer available for a lot of people, which meant that they didn't go to the doctor as often. So left pharmaceutical sales. I started working for referrals as a referral marketing liaison for a local uh, physician, a specialist, in order to go out and talk to referring practices about this particular practice. And that's how specialty physicians were able to really stay in business. It had to become really competitive. So, and there really wasn't a book about how to do this sort of thing. I literally learned it on the job. And here's first, really huge thing that I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than pharmaceutical sales. Um, it was harder. It was so much harder. And because there wasn't a playbook for it. So I like to tell people I didn't read a book to figure out how I did it, how to do it. I figured out how to do it, and then I wrote the book and literally wrote the book for the Texas Medical Association. They asked me to do that so we could have a roadmap for physicians who couldn't afford their own um, physician liaisons, or some offices have their own staff, marketing staff. And so I taught physicians how in Texas how to do that for themselves. And that's how the business began. And then you asked about the transition. Um, it- so we started as a referral marketing practice, and we made the transition to contract sales organization for pharmaceutical, biotech, life sciences, and healthcare, which is a totally different um, business model. We were actually invited into that um, by a client. I went in to provide some training for a struggling team who was working for an existing contract sales organization, and with the clarity that came out of that 1.5 day training session for their team, they invited me to uh, become their new contract sales organization. So I went into it backwards and I literally had to say, okay, what's the name of this company that had this contract and what are they? I didn't know what a contract sales organization was, or I did, but I'd never recognized it as being called that. And so we reverse engineered our way into what we were actually naturally suited for, but didn't have the business model for.
Wow, that is an incredible journey. And that shows like that's a golden nugget of this conversation right off the bat because it shows that businesses do shift and grow. And that is kind of part of the process because you kind of have to find your way. Like you said, there's not really a
Yeah.
blueprint.
100%. And but one law, I believe it's John C. Maxwell says you have to give up to go up. And that is true, I believe. So I gave up the whole book of business for the referral marketing side, which had grown. We had hired hundreds of uh, representatives. Had we were representing hospital systems and not, not just physician practices, but uh, across the spectrum. They needed a voice to a medical audience. We did that, but we used a totally different business model. And um, interestingly, when I was asked to do this, I said no. And so that shows me I was a little limited in what I was thinking because I mean, I had this thing down to a science and our team, we all were, I won't say comfortable because as soon as you get comfortable, that's when things start shaking up. But we just kept doing the next right thing, and that's how we ended up. I- It's we've perfected the model. We know what we are, and we also know, more importantly, what we are not.
I think that's major. That's major in business. So thank you for sharing that story.
My
And now
pleasure.
I'm getting into, I'm curious about the structure of your business. Are you the sole owner right now? Or is that like currently you're the sole owner of the business, or do you have a board of directors? Kind of what does that look like for you?
Sure. So this is another distinction for Axxelus. We are a government contractor. We're designated as a woman-owned small business in the SAM system. And so we don't only have government contracts, we also pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies. That is that's who we serve. That's the audience we serve. And wait, ask me the question one more time. Sorry.
Oh, good. Are you the sole owner? Or do you have a board of
So,
directors
okay.
and co-founders?
Okay. Yeah, let's edit that. If you don't mind. So I am 100% a sole owner. Axxelus is we've never taken out a loan. We've never taken on investors. We don't have a board. We have not sold. Those things have started coming, a lot through the years. And but it's me. We're an S corp, and my belief system is we grow with what we have at at the time and in whatever circumstances we are in. We don't take loans out to get where we want to go. I believe we get better when we grow with what we have, and that keeps us really a lot closer to the burdens that other people are feeling because we have to get really in the messy middle of everything to figure it out rather than just hiring teams of people uh, who know what they're doing. And then how would I know exactly? what my clients are feeling if I wasn't right there with them. So that keeps us very rooted right in the problems that need solutions with our customers.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing about that. I think that's huge, especially that's a really good model, thinking about growing with what you have. And so I'm curious about when you're making decisions as as CEO, as owner, how do you go about making your decisions? Do you pull in members of your team to help? Do you have advisors? Like, what's that look like for you?
That is a great question. And yes, I have trusted advisors of my own. And I would not be able to do this without them. I am very I have to make myself do this. I work in creation mode, not reaction mode. I have learned over the years reactivity is your brain is not its best self if you are just reacting to things. So I have learned to be my own advisor, which means pause. I am not in a rush. I'm going to make good decisions. I'm going to call whoever I need to call. I'm going to research. And before I make a decision. And Kate, that is not always uh, supported by others. I will share that with you. People, people want the answers to their questions, not just now, but right now. And uh, I, I don't succumb to that because if whether it be um, a client, a prospect, an employee, or anyone else, if I'm in a position to serve them, then the way I serve them is not by giving them just my gut response and hoping it works out. The way I serve them is by making sure I have a solid solution to offer them because that matters.
Definitely. That's a great approach and leads perfectly into my next question, which is,
Okay.
as a business owner, and every business owner I talk to is growing through something, whether it's a new season, like a new chapter, challenge someone's facing. So,
Mhm.
what is something you're growing through as a company right now that's demanding the most of your time?
Oh, wow. That is such a good question. Um, I would say uh, making sure that everyone we work with, we are in alignment with, as far as anyone we bring on to work in our organization. It's not just a filter. There's real alignment. And I always say it's alignment before the assignment. So, we don't want to just do work. We want to do work with and for organizations that we are aligned with, because if you're not, there's going to be so much friction that you will be in constant uh, problem solving mode which is a momentum breaker in a lot of cases. And when you start with alignment, uh, and that's not saying, that two people automatically start in alignment. There has to be work a lot of times to get to alignment before you decide if you are a good fit for that client or if that client is a good fit for you. So we are selective and we make sure that we're working with people, one, that we know we can serve well, and two, that will allow us to serve them well.
Oh, definitely. That's a major thing and so important to think about when it comes to, working with people. So, when you walk into your office or sit down at your desk on a Monday morning and you're thinking about all the things you're working on, what is that first thing that's sitting at the top of your mind when you sit down?
Oh, well, for me, it's I just start praying my way through the week. So that's the way I start every single morning. I sit down and the first thing I do um is my I open my Bible and I have my quiet time. And that's how I am centered for the day. If I have found that on days that I don't do that, uh, that's when I am very reactive. So that's part of my personal story that I have to share, or this wouldn't be my personal story. So that's how I start my day, and I make sure uh, that everybody else has what they need for the week
Mhm.
before I start on what I have before me for the week. As a business owner, everybody is coming to you. And a lot of people come with ready-made solutions. So, sometimes those are great solutions and sometimes they're not. So that takes time to work through as well. So just making sure everybody has what they need um, in pacing through the day to ensure that the things I need to get done actually do get done. Because I find it very important to also have a life. My weekends are my weekends. That's not a popular statement for everybody, and that may cause us some business one day, but I believe it makes me able to lead better because I have boundaries that I protect, which is weekends and at night. I need to reset. And that allows me to show up every single day at 5 a.m. right here with my very best. So
Mhm.
healthy boundaries that I've set for myself. That's just not Monday. For me, Friday morning's no different than Monday morning.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm
Yeah.
going to take notes on that for myself, and I'm sure listeners are getting a lot out of that. So, um, I'm going to ask you a fun question.
Okay.
If I gave you a little magic dust and you could sprinkle that on any aspect of your business, like thinking about, marketing, um, you know, like revenue, funnels, all of those things that business owners think about.
Mhm.
If I could give you that dust and you could sprinkle it on one aspect of your business to improve it,
Yeah,
which aspect would you choose?
that is a fun question. I could answer it a whole bunch of different ways, but I'm going to give you the one I really want to share. And that is one of my goals is to have Axxelus known, recognized as the Chick-fil-A of the pharma industry. And now let me explain that because they're in the chicken business, we're in the pharma business, but at the end of the day, we're in the people business. We're in the people serving business. And so that to me is the most important distinction. And that is why I do look at Chick-fil-A. I look at their model. I've always noticed how when you say thank you, they say my pleasure. And I've read the books. I respect the integrity that that organization has, and I'm looking to build that and bring that to pharmaceutical, to the whole industry. It's a huge industry and it's growing, especially the part we're in, the contract sales part. Um, it's growing by $5 billion over the next 5 years. It's a huge market. And I don't want to be the biggest. I want to be the best.
Ah, that's incredible. What a cool way to look at it too, looking at another company that you like the structure of how
Mhm.
they've grown. And so how long has that been on your radar to become?
7 years. 7 years. Yeah. And officially, where I wrote it down, I'm going to share something with you. I literally have a stamp, Kay. I don't know if you can see this, where it's my filter. And I created this. You hear that? It's one of those self-inking stamps. And I run everything through two filters. One is Chick-fil-A Pharma, and two is our annual revenue goals. So when I'm processing things, when things get muddy, I just step away for a second, get my little stamp out, and if it doesn't hit both, then I don't touch it, or it's not right, or it's not ready, and it needs to go away for a while. Because every single thing we do must accomplish both goals. One's not enough. So, I have very high annual goals. Don't think that, when I said I don't want to be the biggest, I want to be the best. You, we can be the best and be big enough. That's fine. I don't need to be selfish or greedy about it. And that's where that humility comes in. Really, when I say Chick-fil-A Pharma, I hope that comes across as humility and not pride, because I really am trying to do this. I consider myself a servant leader, and I don't ever want to sell something to someone that they don't need. I will never sell something to someone that will hurt them or is not in their best interest. So and that will lead me to a question you didn't ask me, which is our one word value statement, which is integrity. So we do not have, I mean, I used to have a huge, really, paragraph long value statement, and I couldn't even remember what it was. It was filled with great things, but at the end of the day, our value statement is one word, it's integrity, which means, a lot of things, but it's always at least doing the next right thing.
I like that. I like the physical, you have that physical stamp, something that shows you the physical, like this is either a yes
Mhm,
or no.
mhm,
So that's powerful. That's powerful. I really enjoy that. And now looking at, getting to become the best. Are
mhm.
there obstacles? And if so, what is an obstacle that's that roadblock between where you are now and where you want to go?
Great question. For us, it would be we are well, I won't say the smallest, but we are probably one of the smallest in the industry. But we are also recognized as one of the top 10 in globally in the contract sales industry for pharma and biotech, life science, healthcare. So those lists started coming a few years ago where we were, loving that. And we always, when people find us, we make sure they're aware we are on these lists not because we're one of the biggest and not because we've marketed to be one and because we have a huge team. It's because we do things differently. And when people hear about it, that's when we start getting written up in these papers and reports and all of these things. It's because we are different. We are not trying to be just another contract sales organization. We are our own type of sales organization. And it is contract sales, but we're not a me too. We're us, we're different. And we think everyone else should follow suit with what we're doing.
I'm very curious. So what sets you apart? What makes you different? I love this.
Well, a lot of people are just trying to get bigger. And I fell into that trap early on, uh, taking on any assignment, and we don't do that. We know what we can scale to. We know the size of team we can accommodate, and not just accommodate, but really serve well before systems and processes start breaking. And we will not go over that threshold because it's not good for the client, it's not good for us. So we're different in that we have set our own boundaries for not only our protection, but for our customers. So we're very transparent in that way. Uh, we're not just looking to sell anything. We need to believe in the products that we're selling. We need to be able to work with our clients and have a um, really good two-way communication. And if that's not a possibility, then that's not going to work for us. Because in
Mhm.
order to serve well, we need to be able to have the right conversations, and that's not always possible. So we don't just
Mhm.
take an account. We make sure that we vet our clients, prospects as much as they vet us.
Mhm. Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And now you
Mhm.
mentioned team, so I'm very excited to like kind of talk about your team a little bit before we
Mhm.
wrap up. So,
Mhm.
how many team members are you currently at? And are you working with employees or contractors, or is it a bit of both?
That's a great question. So, when I mentioned the model, switching the model, we had our original sales model was 1099 contractors. And that worked for that model. But, and that's when we were under a different name, Lexicon Medical. And then we switched to, had a total name change, business model change, everything changed. And everybody is a W-2 employee now. Even our interns are temporary employees. And the reason we use that model is you can really serve your employees better when they are actual employees of your company. And it's, there's a 20-point checklist for 1099 contractors of things that you can't do. And one of them is train them. It would be like calling a plumber to your house and saying, okay, let me show you how to do this.
Mm.
You can't do that. So to keep it for the integrity of the role, we, that is one thing that we had to switch over was to a totally different W-2 model. And then since we are all over the nation, every every state has its own unique system. And so working within each state it's a process, let me tell you that. But we always we don't have the biggest team, but we have the best team. We hire really big for roles that we grow into. We don't hire for who we are now. We're always hiring for and looking for systems and processes for where we're planning to be by the end of 2029. So this company is built to go into 2030, um, being the Chick-fil-A of Pharma and being, let's see, 15, 15 times larger than we are right now.
Wow, I love the goal. Well, thank you for sharing that. This has been
Pleasure.
such a fun conversation. So before we get to our final question of the day, I would
Mhm.
love to help you spread the word about your business. How can people connect with you and your company online?
I love that. Thank you. I would love to make new friends on LinkedIn. So I'm Kristin Parker, Kristin Parker. Axxelus is Axxelus. Please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM and let me know that, hey, saw you talking to Kay on the podcast and let's be friends. Let's have a conversation. That's the best way.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kristen. Now for our final question of the day.
Okay.
What is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, the most inspiring. I love seeing people do things they didn't think they could. So I mentioned everybody in our company gets leadership training, and I or did I mention that? I don't know. I don't know if I did mention that or not, but everyone in our company does get leadership training. Everyone needs to be a leader. Um, and not even just the people who want to be, leaders one day, because they're leaders of their own territories. Their territories need them to be leaders. So we really, you know, level up on the training. And being a former teacher, I am all about it. We are training, 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 and we make it fun, relevant, and really help people understand that they're stronger than they think they are. They're more capable than they think they are. And just to try it, to give it a shot. And who cares if it doesn't work, that's okay. This is a safe place to work. Um, and I was talking to one of our teams this morning and I said, "Hey, give this a shot. And if you break it, we'll fix it." And that's the sort of that's where you can see people grow when they know that it's a safe place to try and fail or try and win. And that's when it gets so much fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, Kristen, this has been a very inspiring conversation.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing that with me. And thanks for being a guest on the show today.
I am so honored and I appreciate you, Kay. Thank you.